annual Taylor Talks. Taylor Talks tonight will feature 3 stellar professional presentations by UNS students who are slated to graduate later this month with a leadership minor, as well as one of our alum from the program. These 4 leaders will share poignant insights into the very practical realities of becoming a leader, drawing us into their transformational journey, empowering each of us to scale our own mountain peaks. Each of their stories highlights the integral role that student affairs plays in the holistic development as productive citizens in our society. Through their curricular and co-curricular requirements of a leadership minor, students learn to gain insight into their emerging self as a leader through lived experiences. Dr. Ronald Heifetz, a leading scholar out of Harvard, describes these opportunities as dance floors. We teach our students that these dance floors come in many different forms: work, sports teams, internships, church, family, community service, collaborative group projects, academic classrooms, socializing with friends. Almost anything you can imagine is considered golden opportunities and considered dance floors for individuals to evolve and grow into the leader we here at the University of North Florida know they are capable of becoming. Once students engage in these experiences, we teach them to step off the dance floor, away from the action, and onto the balcony, where they have the opportunity to reflect and gain insight into how those experiences impact and shape their emerging self as a leader. Tonight, you will hear directly from our current and former students the impact that the intentional study of ethical, value-based leadership has on their evolution as a leader. Our hope is that you leave here tonight with a deeper understanding of the tremendous impact that the intentional study of leadership has on our students. To tell you a little bit more about our program and the history of the Taylor Leadership, please welcome to the stage Dr. Annabelle Brooks.
Thank you for coming. I know you're here to hear Taylor talk, so I'm going to be very brief. We have a number of dignitaries in our midst that literally make this possible. Dr. Bruce Taylor, our namesake, and his beautiful wife June are here. Stand up and let us honor you, please.
Some of you have heard a little bit of this before. Allison and I just got back from Indianapolis for the National Association of Student Personnel Administrators. We gave a presentation about the Taylor Leadership Institute programming. And there were a couple of things that were significant, especially the fact that what is increasingly evident is it is very, very difficult to find anything close to what we're doing. Now that begs a whole discussion that we don't have time to. But suffice it to say, recently Dr. Brooks starts referring to our program as the elite, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. We are paving new territory in the whole approach to higher education. That said, what difference does it make? Well, can you prove it, Dr. Jesus? Can you prove it? We're all concerned about the metrics and all this stuff. What difference does higher ed make? What difference does the intentional study of leadership make? Well, we've got it. We've got it. And so I'm just going to give you a few smidgets, and on the way out, if you're interested, there's a little handout that you can take a little bit more about this. But some of you are aware that some of you probably participated last spring in the data collection of what's called the MSL, the Multi-Institutional Study of Leadership. UNF is one of about nearly 100 institutions across the United States and Canada that participated in that study, involving about nearly 300,000 respondents.
UNF submitted 2 samples. We had a random sample. We excluded first-year students, so it was a random sample of non-first-year students who did not take any form of a formal leadership course. And we had about 600 of those people respond. And then we had another sample of people that, in fact, had taken LDR 3003, Introduction to Leadership, evidencing some step towards the intentional study of leadership. We had about 125 respondents. So kind of a small sample, but still enough to draw some significance. Here are some of the interesting things. First of all, if you look at the respondents, 2 things that particularly stand out about the people that responded at UNF that was extremely disproportional to the national database was the high representation of minorities in the respondents, particularly African Americans. In fact, in the national survey, African Americans were 4th, behind, I think, Hispanics, Caucasians, Asians, and African Americans. Here, they were at the top of the list, the highest rate of incidence of response. That doesn't mean the most number, but more likely to respond. Interesting, okay? A second thing that was interesting was that we get a high interest from non-traditional age students, particularly transfer students, okay? Who are older than the classic age of 24. So that's response. A second area is in the area of outcomes. This is kind of the proof of the pudding. And it's based on a social change theory, some of which many of you are familiar with. And UNF students, generally speaking, without regard to leadership, are at least at or slightly above the national benchmark. You add LDR 3003 to that, and it is a significant increase in outcomes, particularly in the area of what they call the 3 individual, the 3 social: capacity to collaborate, capacity to engage difference with civility, and capacity to, I'm drawing a blank, but it's there. Oh, consciousness of self, way off the charts. You're all deeply self-aware. And so on and so forth. So the point is, there's hard evidence to say that something is clicking. Okay. The third thing maybe to point out is the survey of a gazillion things it assesses in multiple 400 variables. One of the things it says, what are the things that most impact, if you will, predictors of advancement in leadership learning outcomes that the college experience, the university experience can inject? 3 things are at the top of the list, and I think they're all present, 2 in particular. Absolutely, absolutely, phenomenally, across the country and borne out in our data. The single most driver of the development of leadership is the engagement in socio-cultural conversations, dealing with people that are different. We call that cross-cultural competency. We call that intergroup dialogue, which is why that's one of the courses in the program. And so the capacity to engage others absolutely raises the outcomes. And the second thing that's particularly significant, and this, Dr. G should be here for this, the high impact of study abroad. And we have, among the population of leadership minors, a disproportionately high number of study abroad students. And third is the capacity to engage in mentoring. So that's a little bit of it, but you're doing good things, and it's really making a difference. Thanks for the opportunity to share that. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you our new event coordinator, Miss Lauren Stark, who I think is going to take us to where we really want to be. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're very, very excited to have you. So thank you for honoring us with your presence. My name is Lauren Stark, and I'd like to start off by telling you a little bit about what Taylor Talks really is. So tonight you will have the honor of hearing from 4 different individuals, 3 of whom have just recently finished their capstone presentations for their leadership minor, and they're actually representing the whole of 25 students who will be graduating with that minor this spring. So those students will be giving you just a short bit of their capstone this evening. We're very much so looking forward to that. So before I introduce our first guest speaker, if I could please have anyone that's in the audience tonight who is of those 25 students that will be graduating with a leadership minor this spring. Stand so that we may recognize you at this time. So thank you all so much for your dedication to the program. We salute you, and of course, best of wishes for your future endeavors. Thank you so much. With that being said, I'd like to introduce our first honorary guest speaker. Her name is Miss Emily Bowles. Emily will graduate, of course, this spring, summa cum laude, with her bachelor's in sociology. She's finishing her internship with the Dolores Barr Weaver Policy Center. And among other various leadership actions, she's also been a part of rejuvenating the UNF chapter of American Civil Liberties Union. Her Taylor Talks title is Making Ripples, Changing the World. And without further ado, please help me welcome Miss Emily Bowles.
Good evening, everyone. I want to first start with a quote by Margaret Wheatley. And this quote goes, "All the happiness in the world comes from serving others, and all the sorrows in the world come from acting selfishly." Tonight, I want to talk about leadership that makes ripples and changes the world. My role models in leadership are notable figures that did change the world. These include Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Nelson Mandela. These individuals were everyday people, but they stood up against inequality, oppression, and the suffering of others. They used their power for good. They were drops in a stagnant body of water, but those drops created ripples and caused the water to change. We still feel these ripples today. Those willing to stand up for those who do not have a voice in society are real leaders. I have learned that leadership must be grounded in one's own values, and that these values don't always line up with the rules. How can the suffering of others not infuriate people? It surely infuriates me. But society is structured in a way which promotes and propagates inequality. Social justice requires breaking the rules and finding the courage to stand up for change. Leadership must always be about helping others first. I value equality and diversity, and I want to talk about where these values come from. First off, my major. My major is sociology, and this has had an enormous impact on shaping my values. Ever since my first semester, taking Intro to Sociology with Dr. David Jaffe, I was completely enlightened to the horrible inequalities in the world. And I knew right from the start that I wanted to be socially engaged and not tune out to the suffering of others. Learning about inequality is one thing, but witnessing it firsthand is another thing entirely. I currently intern with the Dolores Barr Weaver Policy Center. I work with elementary school girls who are at risk for the juvenile justice system. These girls are labeled bad from the get-go, and society writes them off. They become invisible. What are their life chances? Will they go to college? How long will they live? I've met girls who are homeless, who have a parent in prison, who go hungry when they are not at school, who do not even have school supplies to finish their work. It's amazing to see a little girl's face light up when she's just given one pencil. It's the simple things in life, including myself, that we take for granted. But these little things change their whole entire world. Is it their fault that they are in poverty? They are at risk because society treats them differently, and I think we know why. How can anybody sit by and let this happen? I have the responsibility to use my unjustly given white privilege to give these girls a voice and to stand up to the oppression of others. Throughout this program, I've learned leadership is about knowing oneself and integrating your values in everything that you do. Leadership is about active listening and using one's own voice. about going the extra mile and engaging in civic responsibility. Leadership is about constant reflection and learning from one's own mistakes. Leadership is about not letting society dictate who you are or what you should have. Leadership is about having the courage to make change. The Taylor Leadership Institute has allowed me to look deep within myself, find my passion, and use my voice. I used to believe that leadership was only a positional thing, and that I could never be a leader. But the Institute has taught me that I can be a leader, and I can use my power for good in this world. When fighting for social justice, one must accept defeat from the very beginning. Fighting the system of injustice is nearly impossible, it seems like, due to the way society is structured and transmits societal norms of inequality. But remember, one drop makes ripples. Ideas are powerful, powerful tools that allow leaders to inspire radical change. So again, thank you to the Leadership Institute, my fellow leadership minors, faculty, and staff. And my request of you tonight is to go out, serve, and care about others, make ripples, and change the world. Thank you.
He hopes to pursue a career in law enforcement. So, please welcome to the stage Mr. Trevor Chrisman.
This minor, I didn't know what my leadership identity was. To be honest, I didn't even know if I was a leader. Many of you may be sitting there thinking the same thing right now. Am I really a leader? I encourage you to dive into that. So when I went into this minor, it showed me that who I am as a person, that I've always known, is exactly who I am as a leader. not matching up with the other, something's not authentic. So I encourage all of you to look into yourself, be aware of the good and the bad, and see if it matches up with who you are as a person. If not, confident that I'm going to be able to accomplish that goal. And at the end of the day, that's the only reward I need. I don't need to be pat on the back for doing that. I don't need to be recognized. To be honest, I don't need to be standing up here tonight talking to all of you. It's a great honor to be up here. It's not something that I take lightly, but I'd be just as comfortable sitting out there watching somebody else tonight. And that just goes back to the not needing to be recognized and no frills kind of personality that I get asked a lot, is this really what you want to do with your life? Are you sure this is the career path for you? If you can't tell, I really want to do this. This is the career path for me. But the leadership minor reinforced those beliefs. Before I went into this minor, I was confident, but I'm extremely confident now. I know there's not anything else I'm supposed to do. This is exactly what I'm supposed to do in this world. And I'm excited that I'm on that path. I feel extremely blessed to be able to say that I'm going to be able to go into a career that's going to allow me to live out my passion of helping people. Too many people in this world sit in an office, sit behind a desk, and are miserable. And they might be making a lot of money, but they're miserable if they're not being passionate about what they're doing. And no, I'm not going to be a millionaire as a police officer, but I know that it's what I want to do. It's going to allow me to pursue my passion of helping people every day. So for that, I need to thank the Taylor Leadership Institute. They've been instrumental in my success and all the other students in this program's success. I know that I'm going to go out and accomplish my goals, and I know my fellow classmates are going to go out and accomplish their goals because of the lessons we learned through this minor. I talked about how I don't need to be recognized, and the faculty doesn't need to be recognized either, but I'm going to take a moment to recognize them, because they've played such a huge role in all of our success. They don't need to be thanked. They know that we're going to go out and do great things, and that's the only satisfaction they need. But I'd like to thank them anyway and recognize them right now, because they've played a huge role in all of our success. So I just encourage all of you, if anything I've said has stuck to you, if anything Emily said, or if anything either of the next two speakers says sticks to you, build on that. Leadership is through experiences. You don't lead through your thoughts if you don't do anything with your thoughts. So if anything I've said or anything anybody else has said sticks to you, don't forget about it. You're hurting yourself and you're hurting those around you if you don't build on what you heard here tonight if it's stuck with you. So go out, do great things with what you've learned here tonight and who you are as people. And I just encourage you all to stay true to yourselves and true to your leadership identity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trevor. Okay. Without further ado, our third honorary speaker tonight is Miss Lainey Keating. Miss Lainey will be graduating with a bachelor's in psychology and a second minor in mass communications. During her 4 years at UNF, she has been an NCAA athlete, and of those 4 years, 3 of them she has served as her women's soccer team captain. So please welcome to the stage Miss Lainey Keating.
How fantastic, right? Can we just give them one more round? So many esteemed people here. Actually, I think this is the first time I've ever even been in your presence and talked to you. It's very nice to meet you. I'm really proud. My name is Lainey Keating. This is my 4th year here. I'm about to graduate, thankfully. And tonight, I just want to give you a little bit of insight into my journey and how my leadership style has developed. So 4 years ago, I came to UNF to play soccer with these girls, and then also to study psychology. For me, I've really always been interested in what makes people tick, what makes people good, and what makes people evil, what makes things happen in a situational basis, what makes an interaction between one person and another different from two other people on the other side of the room. And through my studies in the past 4 years, there's been one overarching phrase that I've found kind of interesting, and it's the phrase, "it depends." Now, as vague as that may be, it really translates. So psychology is the study of the brain, thoughts, and behaviors, but really it's the study of people. It's the study of people and interactions. So in my life, it's been a web of wins and losses, as all of ours have. You know, like as many times as you thrust your fist up in the air in celebration, all Breakfast Club style, like you turn around and you get one right to the cheek. So it's a web of those things, and those times that you feel helpless and that you feel insecure, you turn and then you feel so successful. But today I'm happy to stand here and say that any time that I fell down, I know that all those losses have only been wins in disguise. So as we're here and we discuss these things, I just want to have a conversation with you guys about one, emotional intelligence, which I've come to find is the most important thing of all, and two, situational leadership, which I've really adapted to and grown into because of the Taylor Leadership Institute. So I'm going to start with a small anecdote about my very best friend. My teammates know her, she's one of my squad, and her name is Susie Ford. Some of you may have classed with her, some of you may have interacted with her in the time. She is the best. But when she came in as a freshman over the summer, that was not the case. Amanda remembers, I know, that she came in and was not up to par with the other freshmen. Unfortunately, she came in with a class that was just stellar, super fit, ready to go, ready to train, ready to do all this stuff at the college level. But Susie was falling behind. She couldn't really keep up, and that turned into excuse making, that turned into missing workouts, and it turned into behaviors that were just unacceptable for our team and our team culture. So as a leader, this would have been sophomore year, so quite a while ago, she and I had to have a conversation. And we spoke on the phone, I remember it, like it was yesterday, and I discussed with her that, these behaviors were unacceptable. And immediately upon saying that, she broke down into tears. She was, I can't do it. I can't be successful. I'm not as good as everyone else. I'm not capable. And we talked for a little bit and she calmed down. And we decided to develop a strategy, a step-by-step process through which she was able to identify what the problem was and actively work towards fixing it. So for example, it was make it to every workout and be 5 minutes early. When you want to complain, compliment another teammate. And most importantly, when you get to the 10th sprint, do the 11th. And now these things over the years, they've developed and she's practiced them. And today she's one of the best players on the team. She's incredible. She motivates all the freshmen. She has an unbelievable grasp of leadership, determination, and a way of impressing upon others that you can do it. So in that way, that's something that I want to carry with me forever in that leadership style. Now moving on from emotional intelligence, we move to situational leadership. And situational leadership is a fluid interaction of putting on different hats. So sometimes you have to coach. Sometimes you have to support. And there's times where you have to ask of people that follow you rather than tell them what you need from them. And it's the ability to move fluidly from those that you're able to find what you're looking for in other people. Now, my experience, and I know it's in faculty's experience because they've done it for me, depositing a small amount of positive reinforcement to someone for the littlest of ideas, the littlest bit of hard work, the littlest bit of investment, you're able to pull so much more from them. So when we talk about situational leadership, we talk about the here and now. But I encourage all of you to think about then, 5 weeks from now, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. Where are you going to be at that point? And I'm happy to say that because of this institute and because of this faculty, I know that the path that I choose, I will find success and gratification because they've given me the tools to adapt and change and respond to any challenge that I have to face. So now, as we move on to our next speaker, I really hope that you guys have taken the 3 leadership styles that we've given you and really assess that in your own way. I hope that we can all move forward in a good relationship with each other and keep this institute going in a positive direction because it's truly incredible. And I look forward to seeing where you end up in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lainey. Okay, for our final honorary guest tonight, this is not a student who will be graduating. He is actually an alum of the program. His name is Juan Carlos Villatoro. He graduated in 2014 with his bachelor's in interdisciplinary studies and, of course, the minor in leadership. He is an entrepreneur at heart and continues to innovate, especially in areas of environmental sustainability. As a leader without a title, he is the founder of Urban Mining, which is an electronics waste disposal and research firm that develops technologies that provide ethically sourced raw materials to mitigate environmental contamination. Also, he is the co-investigator of research at the University of Florida and has recently been admitted to the University of Florida's PhD program in engineering. So without further ado, Mr. Juan Carlos.
I'm glad to be back on campus. I'm going to talk about 3 things. Origins, connecting the dots, and emotional quest. And those things have to actually bring me to where I am today. Origins, I have to say, I can't deny I'm an immigrant, and I was born in El Salvador, raised in New York City, and I had a huge curiosity. How is it that the Navy has people wearing blue uniforms and white uniforms? And how do you keep your white uniform clean if you have to wear it? I was like, wow, these people, they must be really good at what they do, and somehow they don't do much. So I went on the adventure out at sea, and little did I know what they promised me that I would get to travel the world and experience different ports and food was so true. They just didn't tell me how I would get there. They forgot to mention that I would sleep very little and be away and stay away from land for months to go. But it was part of the journey. In that journey is when I realized that those people wearing the blue uniforms are what actually make happen the daily life of being a sailor. But wearing that blue uniform, when your shift is over, it is possible for you to go on a day, read a book, read the newspaper, which is what I used to do out at sea. And my favorite newspaper was the Wall Street Journal. Why I'm saying this is because this is how I'm going to connect the dots. So I went out to sea to figure out why the people in white uniforms have white uniforms. It turns out that when the day is over for them, it's never really over. They're responsible for every single person wearing the blue uniform in addition to what their duties and their personal being. That's a big load to carry because sometimes when you're a young sailor, you do stupid stuff when you're out at sea that you're not supposed to, you're told not to do it, but guess what? You still do it. Somehow that person that's wearing that white uniform is responsible for my actions. And I was like, wow, that's crazy, how could that be? Then when I was out at sea, I noticed that, I don't know if you ever got to see that movie Finding Nemo, but there's a part where there's an expressway where the turtles and the fish just move without having to do anything. That's real, okay? And it caught my attention, but something that I saw moving at the same speed that the turtles and the fish was plastic. And I said, how can plastic be here? Is this where we come and fish the plastic that we use for our daily lives? Well, that's not the case because plastic is not natural. Humans created plastic. And nowadays, there's actually islands that are bigger than Texas in different parts of the world. And I think it is my responsibility, and I've taken it as my responsibility, to find something useful out of plastics, because plastics are actually a derivative of natural gas and petroleum. And if you actually use them correctly, it can be reused, or you can use them for energy production. So that's what I set my goal to do when I was in the Navy. I asked for an early out. In this early out, the captain said, you know, I'm going to let you out because you're a little much of a pain. You send that request 60 times, and 59 times I deny it. But this is your 60th time, go on your way. Most likely, you're not going to go to school, because I've heard that story over and over and over. And I said, actually, I've been already accepted at UNF. So that's where I'm going to start. 2006, I started UNF, and there's two ways to get a degree at UNF. One is the one most of you are here for, and there's the one that they don't really advertise because they don't want most people to go that route. And that's the route where you can actually come and say, this is what I want to do with this is what my interest is. And I'm here to get that education. And along the way, you're going to find professors and faculties that will take you under the wings. And these people are so powerful and knowledgeable that if you have a vision or the track that you want, or you think you see at the end of the tunnel, somehow these people are willing to put in their lifelong reputation in the line for a student that could possibly next thing drop out. And that's a big risk to take for a faculty, but so many of them were willing to do that for you. Anyway, congratulations to the student that's graduating, playing soccer in 4 years. That's amazing. But it took me 8 years to graduate. Now, I want to be specific. 8 years to graduate undergrad. Okay? It came to the point where I was actually invited to leave campus because I was here for too long. My family and friends used to make fun of me because the university actually gave me my own office. Can you imagine? They didn't pay me, which, you know, I tried to fight it up, but they didn't send me a paycheck. They gave me an office, and they made me on my foot for a second office. Because I had students working in the same project that we were so passionate about. And people would ask me, how do you do it? How do you get people to sign up to do the things that you want to do? And my response was, it's simple. They're not doing the things that I want to do. We're doing the things that we should be doing. Because we're learning a lot of theory on campus. But many times, there's so many students that come in and they take 18, 20 credits just to leave campus as soon as possible because they want to go get that job. Then they realize that that job that they're so eager to get is not eager to hire them because they have no experience. Long story short, in that sense of the job, I actually managed to create my own job, just like I created my own degree here. And it's a great opportunity. Campus is, the UNF campus, I don't think I would have accomplished any of the stuff that I managed to do if it wasn't at UNF. I'm not your typical student. GPAs don't really matter to me. I can tell you that ever since I left UNF, even as getting accepted on the PhD program, I have not been asked one single time what was my GPA. Now, many times I measured it, you know? It definitely was nowhere near close to a 3.0. But I think that at the end of the day, the GPA doesn't matter. It's what knowledge you take with you. No one can take the education from you. And if there's something that I would like you to leave with tonight, is to know that it is possible in your own sphere of knowledge to change the world. I've chosen plastic, and plastic is what has taken me and it still carries me to the areas that I never thought I would go. I never thought I was going to graduate from UNF because there was a point where they said, you can't get a degree. And I said, that's okay. You can't kick me out because I'm still paying tuition. Eventually, I got the degree. I never even thought I was going to ended up on the PhD program at a school that I've always been a fan of. And now we actually have the biggest lab on campus. We have a 90,000 square feet lab on the Swan. And if someone ever tells you that you want to have such a small school that there's very little you could do out here, it's a lie. You can manage to do anything you want. The last place. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Juan Carlos. We're going to take the opportunity now to open up the question and answer segment of our evening. So as our honorary speakers join us on stage at this time, if there are any questions or any input that you'd like to give to our speakers, either one or all, about their own journeys, about the program here at UNF and what they've experienced, or for any of the staff and faculty, now would be a great time to do so. They're available for you. We have microphones on either side, and Alice and Dr. Frank will also bring them to you as we have anything you'd like to ask.
Thank you all very much. Congratulations to the four of you and to the rest of you who are graduating this year from the Taylor Education Institute of Minor. I'm Lucy Croft. I'm the Associate Vice President for Student Affairs. I too am an athlete, and so I can really relate to the story that you're sharing about coaching and mentoring your teammates. So I appreciate that very much. My question is directed to you with regards to your three helpful hints about taking that 11th lap, when you only say 10, and showing up 5 minutes early and being really prepared, and complimenting somebody else when you feel like you maybe, I'm going to take that with me for sure. I've heard that before. Did you come up with that? Did you read that? Is that theory-based? Tell me a little bit of the origin of this.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that feedback. I'm glad that that stuck with you. I think that the best way that I can answer that for you is telling you how those mindsets have worked together to benefit me and my own endeavors very recently. So, one, the concept of being early, the concept of being proactive, actually has led me to volunteer with a friend to put on a charity golf event for the breast cancer weighted day on the Storm Night many years ago. But that has motivated me to be proactive and putting forth the effort to do a good cause. That has led to logo creation, which was sent to a friend of a friend at an up-and-coming company. This company really liked that logo. I met with the company owner, who was working with a different marketing firm, and spoke with her about kind of what I do with events and whatnot. And because I was early, because I did the 11th lap, she fired that person on the spot and gave me the entire project. So right now, I'm astounded to be serving in that position. And I think honestly, I think it's a collaboration of theory and of practice and of different experience. But I know that if you plan on being 5 minutes early, you might be late one time, but if you plan on being on time, you're going to be late a lot more times. And it's just building those good habits and building the good things on the day-to-day that are going to get you where you want to go. Yeah, thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
Yes. You know, it was such a long title that I didn't even come up with it. It was Dr. Frank. He said, you got to name it. And I'm like, why does it have to have a name? He's like, you're almost out of here. Stop fighting me. Put a title. I was like, no. So he called it something I can't remember. I apologize.
You know, I have to say something. Juan Carlos is absolutely the most out-of-the-box student you've ever met. Everything he said is absolutely true. And what you do, Juan Carlos, and you do it absolutely marvelously. And I think Dr. Brooks would absolutely put this up in lights. If there's anything we want our students to do, is that they become self-directed learners. And you nail it. You absolutely, and all of you do that.
like Carlos. And of course, that's very, we have a whole discussion too on disruptive leadership. Okay, yes, it's kind of disruptive, but it changes things, it really does.
I think you answered it in your question about how to tell a story. There is no story. You make your story. So I think if you just go with the approach that come to UNF and there's not a set story for you, that's kind of an overwhelming theme throughout all of our talks tonight, is that we all had a different route, but at the end of it all, we're all extremely happy with where the route took us. So I think the bottom line is that you make your own story.
I would have to say it's the importance of the real life application of leadership into whatever you do. That's the most important thing that I've gained from this institute.
People make a joke about UNF being we never finish. I like to think about it as you never fail. You just learn a lot here. So we've lost a lot of games, but we've won a lot of games, but you never fail here at UNF. There's always a chance to be successful. And I think at other universities, especially in the state of Florida, there's there's that cloud of competition that kind of lingers above everyone, and there's just an upper elite group of people that are kind of, they're in charge of all the success. But at UNF, you can fail a class, but you're not gonna flunk out. Like, you can learn, you have the faculty here, and I think highlighting that for high school, people coming up and saying, you can come here and take risks, you can come here and venture out and build your own brand, and just an incredible insight that I'm happy to learn along the way.
My response to any student, whether they're freshman or sophomore or on their way out, was you don't have to leave, stay. Seriously. Because when you graduate and you rush through 3 years or 4 years it took you, but you don't really have the experience, there aren't too many places that are going to hire you. Or if they hire you, you're not going to end up with the area you want to work in. So if you have the opportunity to learn a vision or passion that you're interested in, UNF will take you there. And why the rush? Unless you have a family and kids. And that's a different story if you have to, but if you are in your early 20s, it's like Juan mentioned, you get the opportunity to try something. It didn't work out, someone might call it failure. The truth is, it's lessons that you're learning. That's actually experiences. So why rush? And I guarantee you that you might be applying for jobs if you do a little extension of semesters that will hire you solely on that experience. That's what happened to me, and that's how I got started. My first job was while I was still a student, and I can assure you that for some reason I never focused on what the money would offer, but somehow it's pretty rewarding. And that's just a byproduct. I don't even think of it, I don't look for it, it just happens. Knowledge is something, like I said before, no one can take away. More than you're not ready.
Any other questions?
I have to ask this question in light of what you just said. What would you say to the state legislature that tells us, excuse me, this is bordering on disruptive leadership. What would you say to the state legislature in Florida that says the success of effective higher education is get them out as quick as you can with the highest income job you can, with the least amount of debt that you can, and a few other so-called metrics. Do you think there's something else you would add to that equation?
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it, there's an article out that says that graduates as of late are missing soft skills. So they have the firm skills, they have the tangible skills, so they can add and subtract and do the IT stuff. But not every IT guy like Matthew can relate to other people, be on time, can do the things that help you be a good teammate and whatnot. I think that college, especially UNL, you would say I would argue that the amount of group work and the amount of teamwork and the amount of coursework that makes you collaborate with other people is something that is integral in being successful in any field, really, because you're going to be working with people for the rest of time. And I think if universities fail to implement coursework that really caters to that learning, then they're doing students a disservice.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot more than what you see on paper with your degree or what you learn in the classroom. The textbook's not going to get you prepared for life or whatever your career.
There was a balance to life than just money. And what are the things, and this is the formula that I follow, what are the things that are going to keep my life simple, happy, and with a purpose? I did everything possible to not have a 9-to-5 job, a week, basically that adds up to 40 hours a week. So nowadays I probably put in 90 hours a week, and I love it. And I could never see myself doing a 9-to-5 job because I know myself and I would be pretty miserable. So to tell someone, get in, get a degree, look for the job that's going to pay you well, that's not going to lead you to happiness. And it's false when people say in the United States it should be the pursuit of happiness. That's not true. You can actually live a happy life.
Opportunity to thank all of our speakers just one last time for being here. And as they dismiss to open the reception line for us, just a few more words for you. Thank you all. I know I speak on behalf of our guests as well as all of Taylor Leadership Institute. Lynn, we thank you for coming this evening. It has been an absolute pleasure to share that with you. In addition, I think that we also hope you take away some insight on your own leadership and your own personal reflection and experience as you've gone through life, and maybe reflect on that in order to develop even more so as an authentic leader moving forward, whether it be at the University of North Florida or all of your endeavors otherwise. So, thank you. truly made all of this possible. So we can give one last round of applause to Dr. Brooks Taylor. And once again, thank you all so much for coming this evening. I hope you have an opportunity to join us for the reception and have some more amazing conversation with our speakers. Thank you.